So I want you to picture a specific moment.
Okay.
You're at, say, a dinner party or work meeting, doesn't really matter.
Right.
And someone asks you a question and you answer. You laugh at their joke. You nod at the right time.
Hmm.
But inside your head, there's this weird, hollow echo.
That feeling of watching yourself.
Exactly. You're watching yourself perform the conversation. And you're thinking, is this my face? Am I actually this interested? Or am I just doing the thing I'm supposed to do?
That is the universal hum of modern existence, isn't it? It's that low-level anxiety where you realize you're operating a machine called your personality.
And just hoping the gears don't grind to a halt in front of everyone.
Exactly.
Right? The customer service voice.
Yeah.
But for your entire life, it's exhausting. And usually when we talk about this, we frame it as, oh, I need to be more authentic. Find my truth.
It sounds very soft. Very, I don't know, like an Instagram quote.
It does. It usually sounds like a luxury. You know, once I pay my bills, then I'll find my authenticity. Exactly. But today, for this deep dive, we are looking at a source that just takes a flamethrower to that whole idea.
It really does.
We're looking at a text called The Architecture of Authenticity, specifically a section titled Revelation. And I have to say, when I first started reading this, I thought it was going to be another be yourself fluff piece. It is not.
No.
It's actually kind of terrifying.
It is. It's not self-help. It's more like structural engineering.
Yeah.
The author isn't asking you to find your bliss.
Right.
They're dissecting why we build these fake personas, how they crush us, and this is the part that really got me. Why taking the mask off is genuinely dangerous.
Dangerous. See, that's where I got stuck. I get that being fake is tiring.
Yeah.
I get that it's sad, but dangerous?
Yeah.
That feels a little dramatic to me.
It feels dramatic until you look at the mechanics of it. The central argument here is that what we call identity isn't usually who we are. It's architecture.
Oh.
It's a structure we built to survive. And when you start pulling out load-bearing walls, things get unstable.
Okay, so let's unpack this metaphor of architecture. Because the text says, identity is constructed under pressure. That's a very specific phrase. What kind of pressure are we talking about here?
Well, think about childhood. The source argues that we aren't born with these masks. We build them. I mean, why do you build a fortress?
To keep things out, to be safe.
Exactly. You build a fortress because you're under attack. Or at least you feel like you are. Maybe as a kid, you realized that being the quiet one kept you out of trouble.
Or being the funny one diffused your parents' fighting.
Or the smart one got you praise.
Yeah. So it's a survival strategy.
Precisely. It's a mechanism. You learned that if you input X behavior, you get Y result, safety, love, attention. The text says it's reinforced by expectation, maintained by habit, and defended out of fear.
Defended out of fear. That's interesting. Because as an adult, I don't feel afraid when I'm being polite in a meeting. I just feel professional. Is that really fear?
Well, let's poke at that. What happens if you stop? What if you stop smiling when you don't feel like it? What if you stop pretending to have all the answers?
I mean, people might think I'm rude or incompetent. I might lose my job.
And there's the fear. The architecture is there to protect you from rejection, from judgment, from loss. The tragedy, according to the source, is that we grow up, but we keep living inside the fortress we built when we were 7 years old.
We mistake the walls for our skin. We think, this is just who I am.
But really, you're just a person living inside a strategy that worked for a 7-year-old. You're polishing the walls. You're guarding the gates.
Spending an immense amount of energy on it.
A huge amount. And the text describes this pivotal moment, the revelation, as the moment you simply see the mechanism.
Seeing the mechanism.
Yes. It's not some spiritual awakening where the clouds part. It's mechanical. It's looking at your own behavior and just seeing the gears turning.
Like when you catch yourself laughing at a joke you hate.
Yes. And you see the puppet string, you realize, oh, I am doing this to be safe.
And once you see the string,
you can't unsee it. That's the rule. The illusion that this performance is natural, it just collapses. And that brings us to a concept in the text that I think is the heaviest hitter.
Which one?
The idea of impersonating the infinite.
Yeah, I circled that 3 times. A mind that understands its limits cannot impersonate the infinite without fracturing. It sounds poetic, but
yeah,
let's ground that. What does that look like on a Tuesday afternoon?
It looks like trying to be a smartphone with a battery that never drains.
Okay. I like that. That's good.
Think about it. We try to be the perfect parent, the tireless employee, the always available friend.
We try to be consistent, invincible, boundless.
We act as if we do not have limits, as if we're infinite. But we're biological, we're finite. We get tired, we get sad, we have a battery percentage.
So impersonating the infinite is basically just refusing to admit you're human.
It's a structural denial of reality, and
Yeah.
the text says you cannot do this without fracturing.
Which we usually just call burnout or a breakdown.
Right. But notice the framing. We usually treat burnout like a failure of willpower. Oh, I just need to work harder. The source says, no.
No.
Burnout is a structural inevitability. If you take a bridge rated for 5 tons and drive a 100-ton truck over it, it will break. It's not because the bridge was weak.
Just because you lied about the
You
physics.
have about the physics, man. So authenticity, in this view, isn't about being a rebel. It's just physics. It's a structural consequence of seeing clearly.
When you see that you're finite, that you're a bridge with a weight limit, you stop trying to carry the world.
Yeah.
Just let yourself be the human.
Right.
Okay, so I stop the act. I admit I'm a finite bridge. I drop the mask. Internally, that sounds like a relief. I can finally breathe. But this is where the source takes that turn we talked about.
Yes.
It pivots from internal relief
Yeah.
to external threat.
Yeah.
It says, anyone who refuses their own costume becomes a danger by existing.
A danger.
Yeah, again, I have to push back on this. If I decide to be authentic, if I stop performing, I'm just being me. How am I a danger to you? I'm not attacking you.
You're attacking my illusion, and that's sometimes worse.
Explain that.
Okay, let's use an analogy. Imagine we are all running a marathon, everyone. Society is one big marathon, and we're all exhausted, our feet are bleeding, we're miserable. But the rule is, you must pretend this is great.
Right.
So we're all running, smiling, giving thumbs up, saying grind set, and living my best life.
Okay, I can picture that. It's basically LinkedIn.
It is LinkedIn. Now imagine you and I are running side by side, we're both pretending, and suddenly you stop. You stop running. You sit down on the curb, you take off your shoes, you breathe, and you say, I'm done. This hurts. I'm not running anymore.
Okay, so I'm sitting. You're still running. Why are you mad at me?
Because if you can sit down, that means I could sit down too. Your sitting down proves that the running was optional all along. Until you stop, I could tell myself I have no choice. Everyone is running. This is just life. But the moment you stop, you become what the text calls the unwanted mirror.
You reflect my own choice back to me.
And you prove that I'm suffering voluntarily. And that makes me hate you.
That is dark. But it makes a lot of sense. It makes my effort feel stupid.
It makes your effort feel like a lie. The text says the unmasked person exposes the lie others require for stability. People build their entire lives around these lies. I have to be this way to be loved. I have to work 80 hours a week to be valid.
So if you exist outside that script and you're okay, you destabilize their whole reality.
Yes. The danger isn't physical, it's existential. And the response to existential danger is often hostility.
Violence, even.
Sometimes. The source argues that people don't destroy what disgusts them. They destroy what destabilizes their illusion.
That's a huge distinction. We usually think, oh, that person hates me because I'm different.
Yeah.
Or they disagree with my lifestyle.
But the source says, no, it's not about morality. It's not about religion or culture or politics. It's a reenactment of fragility.
Fragility.
Yes. If your authenticity makes my mask feel flimsy, I panic. And in that panic, I try to smash the mirror.
You try to silence me or shame me or push me out.
Not because you're wrong, but because you're making it impossible for me to keep pretending.
It's easier to break the mirror than to look at the reflection.
That is the core of it. And this completely reframes how we look at social conflict, doesn't it? When someone attacks you for being too much or too real, it's rarely about you.
It's about the architecture they are desperately trying to hold up.
An architecture that's starting to crack because of your vibration?
So, we've established the problem. We build masks to survive childhood. They crush us as adults. But if we take them off, we trigger this mirror effect, and people might hate us for it. This feels like a lose-lose.
It does. I stay masked and burn out, or I unmask and get attacked. But the text offers a third way, or a destination. It talks about the circle.
The circle. Now, the text specifically mentions this in the context of a space where men gather, but it seems clear the dynamic applies to any group of people trying to be real.
Exactly. It calls this circle a quiet revolution.
I love that phrase. Not a loud protest, a quiet one.
Because it's not about shouting, it's about refusal. The rules of the circle are simple: no costumes, no posturing, no need to impersonate an ideal. It is simply a refusal to perform.
That sounds simple, but think about how incredibly rare that is. To be in a room where you don't have to be the smart one or the successful one, just you.
Almost unheard of. And to enter that space, The source says you need a very specific quality. You need humility. But, and this is so important, it redefines what humility actually means.
Yeah, let's dig into this because usually humility makes me think of self-deprecation, looking at the floor, saying, oh, I'm nothing, I'm dirt.
The I'm not worthy routine, yeah, the source rejects that completely. It says that's just another mask. It defines humility as the sober acceptance that the self is whole but never the whole.
Whole but never the whole. Okay, what does that mean practically?
It goes back to the finite versus infinite idea. The text uses the image of a vessel. So think of a cup, an 8-ounce cup.
Okay, I'm a cup.
Humility is looking at yourself and saying, I am an 8-ounce cup. I am not a gallon bucket. I'm not a swimming pool. I am a sturdy, whole, valid 8-ounce cup.
So it's not saying I'm a bad cup. It's just saying I have limits.
Exactly. It's accepting your shape. You accept your distortions, your limits, your finite perspective. But, and here's the key, you don't lose your dignity. You don't apologize for being a cup.
You just stop trying to hold a gallon of water.
And when you stop trying to hold a gallon, you stop breaking. And more importantly, the source argues that this specific type of humility dissolves cruelty.
How so? How does knowing I'm a cup stop me from being cruel to someone else?
Because cruelty usually comes from the desperation to protect the mask. If I need you to believe I am a gallon bucket, all-knowing, powerful, infinite, and you point out that I'm actually just holding 8 ounces,
I have to destroy you.
I have to shut you up to protect my delusion, my fortress. But if I'm sitting there saying, yeah, I'm an 8-ounce cup, that's what I am, then you can't hurt me. You can't expose a truth I've already stated.
There's nothing to defend.
And when there's nothing to defend, there is no need for violence. The desperation just vanishes.
Yeah.
You can just be with people. You can disagree without it being an existential threat.
You can just be 2 cups sitting on a table.
Yeah.
That brings us to the final part of the text, which they call the shift. It talks about what happens when people actually start doing this.
This is the hopeful part, because we've spent a lot of time on the danger. But the source says illusion cannot survive exposure.
What does that mean exactly?
It means that the lie relies on everyone participating. Remember the marathon.
Yeah.
If one person sits down, it's an annoyance. If 10 people sit down, it's a disruption. If half the runners sit down.
The race is over, the marathon is canceled.
Exactly. The text calls it a removal, a stripping away. When you strip away the lie that identity is architecture, when you strip away the need to perform, reality floods back in.
You know, it reminds me of, have you ever been in a really stiff, formal room?
Ugh.
Like high-stakes corporate vibe?
Oh, absolutely.
And then one person just makes a really honest human joke. Or maybe they spill coffee and just laugh about it instead of panicking.
Yes. And the energy in the room changes instantly.
It's like the air pressure drops. Everyone just relaxes. Because that one person proved that the stiffness wasn't actually required.
That is the shift. We spend our lives holding our breath because we think the air is toxic. We think, if I breathe, if I show my true self, I'll die. And then one person takes a deep breath and says, hey, the air is fine.
And suddenly everyone looks around like, wait, we could have been breathing this whole time.
Precisely. And sure, the first person to breathe might get yelled at by the people still holding their breath. Hey, you're breaking the rules.
Right.
But eventually, the fact that they're breathing alive, it changes everything for everyone else.
So we've gone from the architecture of the mask built in childhood, defended by fear, to the exhaustion of impersonating the infinite. We've looked at the danger of becoming a mirror to others. And finally, the quiet revolution of the circle, of just being a vessel.
It really frames authenticity not as some personality quirk, but as a structural dismantling of a lie. It's not about you being special, it's about you being real.
It connects the personal to the societal. Your personal decision to stop performing isn't just about you feeling better, it's a structural disruption.
Yeah.
It forces others to deal with reality.
Which is a heavy responsibility, but also quite liberating.
It is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we always like to leave you with a question, something to chew on.
We do. And based on this source, here's the question I'd leave you with. We talked about the mirror effect, how being real unsettles the environment. So look at your own life, your workplace, your dinner table, your relationships.
If you stop performing today, if you drop the architecture, stop polishing the walls, and just existed as the finite, limited whole vessel you are, what would happen to your immediate environment?
Would it hold up? Or would it fracture? Because if your relationships or your job require the mask to exist, then what are you actually maintaining?
Are you maintaining a connection? Or are you just maintaining the architecture?
That is the question.
A terrifying and necessary question to end on. If the world is unsettled by the proof that masks were never required, maybe it's time to unsettle a little bit.
Maybe it is.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive on the architecture of authenticity. We'll see you next time.